What is going on, guys? Dan Fitts here. I am banned for another 11 days for saying controversial things like I'm going to tell you now. Watching an interesting debate. I think it's Michael Hitchens versus Matthew Perry. Matthew Perry saying addiction is a disease, and Mr. Hitchens saying it's a choice. And I agree with both of them. I believe there is some genetic disposition to addiction, and I also believe it's a choice. I know this myself because my mother was an alcoholic, and there's an old story where two boys grew up with an alcoholic, and one became a successful businessman, and they ask him, how did you become a successful businessman? And he says, my father was an alcoholic, so I didn't want to be like that. And the other son becomes a homeless drunk. Ask him, how did you become like this? And he said, my father was an alcoholic, so of course I was going to become like this. Very simple story, isn't it? I'm not here to tell you whether it's a disease or a choice or anything like that. I'm not interested in that. You can discuss that if you choose to. I'm here to get results. I'm here to help people like I have over the last 10 years or so. Like I've had the hardest client on the planet myself. Drugs are fantastic. They're great. They're amazing. So is drinking. So is degeneracy. So is doing all the things that we shouldn't do. That's why we do them. Let that sink in for a little bit. The controversy, the rage. What do you mean drugs are good? No, I don't want to get my house raided again. What I'm saying is simply the truth. If something wasn't good, you wouldn't do it. I don't mean good for your health. I don't mean good for your life. I don't mean good for your relationship. I mean you just feel good. That's why you do it. Pretty simple. We move away from pain and we move towards pleasure. That is human nature in a fucking nutshell. You run from pain and you run to pleasure. You run from pain and you run to pleasure. And if you're not conscious of what you're doing, you find yourself in more pain, running towards more pleasure. Now, if like me in my infinite wisdom at about 15 or 16, I mean when I had real world problems by the age of about 18 or 19, I realized if I drink this, all my problems are solved. And I don't mean black coffee, I mean booze. If I drink this, all my problems are solved. Now, anyone who's not drunk right now knows that's not true. It feels like you're about to have a good time. It feels like your problems are solved. About 6 or 7 drinks in, you're in this magical land where everything's great and everyone's your best friend and time stands still. You know the feeling. Or you do your first bump of cocaine and you feel like Superman. Or you're about 45 minutes in and you got your hands on some great MD, and I know, trust me, I know. I've been there, done that. I bought the ticket, taken the ride. It's not my first rodeo. I understand. But I also understand when you're tapped out on the pleasure credit card, when there is no more pleasure to be had, no matter how much you do it. And you're either in pain when you wake up hungover, or coming down, or broke, or on damage control because you take the microphone at someone's 21st birthday and you don't even know who they are. I did that once. I tried to do a speech at someone's birthday. I didn't even know who they were. And I was huge, so no one could take the microphone from me. I'm sorry to that person, but I mean, that's what happens when you chase that pleasure that bit too much. Which could be why you're watching this video. Funny thing is, being the street preacher, being Dan Fitts, being a relatively fit, healthy, handsome, attractive man, I say that as modestly as possible. It's the truth. People think that I read the Bible, I am sober, I don't do anything but work out, measure my macros, and all that kind of thing. I don't count my macros at all. I do read the Bible. I'm not sober, whatever that means. And I'm not perfect. But I'm also not doing bumps of speed to get through my day shift on a Tuesday because I was up all night drinking and selling drugs, realizing I had to go to work at 6 a.m. in the morning. No, I'm not doing that anymore, so I mean, it's an improvement. How did I do this? I remember sitting in a lounge room with a group of friends, about 10 of us. I assume we all had jobs. I assume we all had somewhere to be. The sun was coming up and it must have been a Friday morning because Thursday was the night I went out with those friends. And I remember sitting there. There was a girl sitting next to me with a shoe on her head for some reason, and my friends were having a conversation about something, like Xbox versus PlayStation. And I just thought, I don't want to live like this anymore. So I got in my Japanese imported 180SX and I drove home. And I realized I was in no state to go to work. Because about 10 minutes prior to that, I'd consumed psilocybin, which had opened my neural pathways to make me think in a different way. I'm not encouraging you to do that, not at all. I am encouraging you to think in a different way. Hopefully this video does that. So, as the psilocybin started to take effect, I was having a conversation with my curtains in the kitchen. That's right, not proud of this, but that's what happened. And I said to my curtains, at what point in life did you choose to be curtains? Now, anyone that's taken LSD, psilocybin, psychedelics will understand that's relatively pretty standard behavior, depending on how much you've taken. But I also realized I was talking to my curtains, as if they were going to reply to me, and I didn't want to lose my mind. So going back to, I don't want to live like this anymore. So if you get to that point, I've got good news for you. Do you think you're capable of more, but you just don't know how? Just more. Anything. You can be a kickboxer, you can be an internet coder, you can be a mechanic for an F1 racing team, you can be the best house painter in Southeast Melbourne. I don't know. Capable of more, don't know how. Good chance probably. But your self-esteem, your self-respect, your self-love, your self-identity, everyone around you cannot see that. That's okay. What do you see? Now, I was kickboxing at the time. I was doing Muay Thai, and I did that because I was getting my ass kicked in the street. I didn't want that to happen anymore. Solution to the problem. Find a solution to the problem. That was the solution. But as I did this, I started to get natural highs. When you train for 90 minutes at an incredibly high intensity, you got what was called endorphins, a natural high. When I found out running got you high, runner's high, you heard of that? Man, I ran marathons, ultra marathons, all kinds of crazy shit. Now, you might think, well, that's unhealthy, Dan, you did it to get high. It's like, well, what have you done? What medals have you collected? What sporting achievements have you done? If none, shut up. So I thought, okay, you really like drugs, you really like drinking, you really like doing things that you shouldn't be doing, but it's not because you want to do these things. I mean, if anyone really has a choice to be who they want to be, exactly who they want to be, what would you write down? You'd probably write something like, I want to be a sophisticated gentleman that knows how to select a good wine. I like to be able to have one glass of wine and a nice cigar while I have an interesting conversation with a beautiful woman. I know where the best restaurants are in town. I'm dressed very nice because I have a great taste in clothing. I don't drink too much so I can safely drive home. I can drop this lovely lady at her home because I don't sleep late. And then I go home and I continue on my business or my passion. Like you create this, it's like Batman, but like not Batman. Can be you. But it's a bit of a stretch to go from you now to that. And depending on your age and depending on what you've done, it can be a bit of a stretch to create this person. Trust me, I know. I can give you a quick example, just in case you don't know me or you know my story. 21, I was in prison. By 31, I was coaching people in prison how not to be degenerates. At special request by the government. At special request by the federal and Queensland police, because I couldn't get clearance, I didn't have the qualifications. And if you've been to prison, you can't even visit people in prison, let alone go in there for 2 hours and speak to them. And that's what I did 10 years later. I'm not saying that to brag, and I'm not saying that to say how good I am. You should know that by now. But I'm saying that to inspire you. It doesn't matter what you've done. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter where you're at in the journey. If you don't want to live like this anymore and you're capable of more and you don't know how, if you pursue this, if you do this, if you try to manifest this life, identity, person, the drugs, the drink, the bad people, the bad behavior will slowly drift away. It won't completely disappear overnight. You won't go to AA once and drop 10 grand and count your days and get your little coins. I'm 30 days sober. I do not like that at all. I think AA is a scam. I think it preys upon vulnerable people. I think it's a rip-off. I've never seen it work longer than like however many days people count and hold on to their precious coins. In fact, I saw a good friend of mine who my teachings worked with him, but he was too ashamed to tell me the truth. What I'm telling you now is simply the truth. I used to do drugs because they made me feel great. People do drugs because it makes them feel great. Why would they want to feel great by using drugs? Or watching Friends reruns on television, I guess, doesn't cut it. Sitting at home and thinking about going to your job that you hate with your partner who's overweight and watching Free Willy with the kids, I guess doesn't cut it. So in your infinite wisdom on how to feel good, you choose drugs, or you choose drinking, or you choose eating too much. I mean, if you knew better, you would do better. And now you know better from me telling you this. So there you go. You will fuck up, you will make mistakes, you will relapse, so to speak. Trust me on that. But if you know what this passion is, if you know what this purpose is, if you know what this thing is, that when I get texts and calls from people all over the world saying, you saved my life, help me, stop drinking because of you, I watched your video, and I've had people that have watched one video and I never spoke to them. They never paid me $1. And 2 or 3 years later they say, I fixed my marriage, my kids love me, I get paid more. And I'll get that message one day. And that's better than any drug I've done in my life. And I've done a lot. And that's how I managed to hijack the process of addiction, of whether it be a choice or whether it be a disease, whether it be an addiction or whether it be just weak self-control. I needed to find something that made me feel better than how whatever I was doing made me feel. It's that simple. I mean, it's incredibly hard. It's incredibly hard, and I wouldn't suggest doing it on your own. You can work with me. I'm a coach. I have a community of men who are going through this process. I mean, like I said, some people watched one of my videos and totally changed their life. I just planted the seed, and then the rest is history. Your life is a collection of your choices. Your choices have led you to where you are now. If you don't like where you are now, start making better choices. It's that simple. Like I said, simple. I didn't say easy. It's incredibly hard. It's the hardest thing you'll ever do. That's why no one looks like me. That's why no one speaks like me. That's why no one backs up what they say. That's why no one is transparent and is truthful. I'm not perfect, trust me. Call up an ex, call up a boss from when I used to be on drugs. Call up, like, there's some stories out there, trust me. I'm not perfect, never claimed to be. But I am constantly improving each and every single day, and that, my friend, is the secret on how to get control of your drugs or your drink, or your food, or whatever it is that is controlling you. You just need to find something better than that. Then replace it, and slowly over time. Here's the thing, it's like a gift. To be able to drink like an alcoholic does, to be able to do drugs like an addict does, to be able to push the boundaries, it's hard. It's physically and mentally hard. So you have this skill where you can push yourself physically and mentally hard. If you just apply it to like a sport or a business or like an idea, you will completely transform not just your life, but all the people around you in all the best ways. But you've got to want it more than you want that drink, more than you want that next line, more than you want that cheesecake in the morning. That's it. I don't know how else to say it simpler than that. Like I said, if you would like my assistance, which makes it incredibly easier, and I'll keep you accountable. And I'm not nice. I just tell you the truth. And I have much more tips and tricks and skill sets to overcome this process. But if you only take away one thing from me, make it that. That's it. And if you don't want to take that, here's the painful reality that I'm going to give you as well. You want to be a drug addict, you want to be an alcoholic, you want to be a failure. You enjoy misery more than you enjoy happiness. You enjoy pain more than you enjoy actual pleasure. You enjoy destruction and chaos and disappointment and hurting everyone around you, including yourself, more than you prefer the alternative to that, which is a much better life for you and everyone around you. But hey, each to their own. It's your life. Do what you want with it. I'm Dan Fitts. God bless.